That's all I got.
I think we can go ahead.
It is 4 p.m. on May 8th, 2025. Welcome to the Library Board meeting. We have the agenda in front of us. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, we've got an agenda. The next order of business is to approve the minutes of the April 10th meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 10th, 2025 meeting?
I move.
So moved, and
I'll
a second? A second. Are there any questions or comments about the minutes?
I just wanted to commend you for the really good summary of what's happening with the funding and how that affects us locally. And if you have any updates about that, or maybe that's something you're planning to talk about later.
Yes, I do have that for the librarian's report, if that's okay.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a motion and second to accept the minutes from the April 10th, 2025 meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Now, on to the financial report.
All right, so we are 32.88% through 2025, and our budget is approximately 33.3% expended. Bills that we paid during April included $3,519 to SHI International for scheduled computer replacements, $2,633 to CDW Government Inc. for a computer for the Mobile Memory Lab, which was from the Mellon Foundation grant, covered that, $634 to Findaway for Vox Books, which are the picture books with the audio component built in. They have been very popular with our patrons, so we continue to build that collection. Excuse me, $420 to Redwood Fire Extinguisher Service for our fire extinguisher inspection and service. So any extinguishers that are low or need to be refilled are taken care of during that time. $140 to Martin Luther College for the summer reading program brochures that we distribute at this time of year. $1,164 to New Ulm Park and Recreation for the Recreation Center passes. We just hit a year with that program. And $222 to Nosbush Glass for rekeying and replacing the cylinders in the new doors that were installed at the book drop entrance so that they match the rest of the doors. We also paid $22,656 to Traverse de Sioux Regional Library. This included $7,776 for our 2025 overdrive fees. So that's the full amount for those fees for the year. And then $14,880 for the first half of our 2025 member fees. We also paid $403 to Clausen Mechanical for removal of a leaking water softener, and also for repairs to the Minnesota Music Hall of Fame toilet and sink in one of their restrooms, and that was $265. And they have already reimbursed us for that expense because they're responsible for the first $100 of any interior repair per their lease. And I just wanted to share a few notes on some of these items. The fire extinguisher inspection was just completed in December, and that was an $828 expense. But we've moved to a new vendor at the recommendation of the city's building official, and he asked if the vendor asked if we could complete the inspection earlier in the year. So that is done for 2025. And then our electronic resources line also includes our Ancestry Library Edition expense, which I just received the invoice for. So those are, that and overdrive are the two items that are paid from that line. Our TDS member fees that we paid half of this month, those include services for cataloging new items, courier between the member libraries, management of our integrated library system, which is the computer system we use to manage our patron accounts, all of the items in our collection, the catalog, those kind of things. And then also the interlibrary loan management, so when items come from other libraries outside of our region, TDS manages putting temporary records in our catalog so those items can be tracked correctly. And then that also, those member fees also includes the TDS staff support of all of these services that they offer to us. I just wanted to note that although we are no longer charging rental for our meeting room, that meeting room revenue line still remains on the report here. And that's because once we receive New Cat's rental fees for the year, that is credited to that meeting room rental line. So that's why we still have that showing in our budget. And I just invoiced them for that for 2025. And that's, I believe it was 4,100 approximately for their rent and their portion of the utilities. Our subscriptions and memberships line is currently spent at 48%, but that is because we paid several of our major newspaper and magazine renewals for the year already. So those are just one-time expenses for this year. And then I just wanted to make you aware that I will be presenting the first draft of our 2026 budget at the June Library Board meeting. The approval of the budget is scheduled for the July meeting because I need to have that information into the Finance Department by the end of July. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions? Okay. We will go on to the activities department report and statistics.
I just wanted to share that TDS, our regional library, experienced a significant loss in April. One of their staff members, Casey Reiner, passed away. She was the head of their cataloging services, and so they've just been reeling with that loss and figuring out how to move forward. And so they've, that's just really hard for them to lose their friend and colleague, but they've been doing a great job at keeping us informed and keeping up with all the work that needs to be done. So I just want to commend them for that and express our sympathies to them for that loss. The library door project is complete. Our staff can now use their ID badge to access the building at both of our west entrances, so that's nice to have that project done. That was a long time coming. So it's nice and it's working well so far for us, so we're glad to have that done. The VITA volunteer tax preparers used our meeting room space to meet with over 905 clients during February to April this year, and that was an increase of 16%. Up from 780 clients in 2024. So this is an ongoing partnership with the United Way of the Brown County area, but all of those tax preparers who complete those appointments are volunteers. So that's just a huge program, and the demand continues to increase for that every year. So we're glad that we can support it with the space that we have. And then for the fourth year in a row, our youth services librarian hosted a table at the Community Family Fair at the Civic Center on Saturday, April 26th. So she provided a make and take craft, talked about the summer reading program, and gave some small giveaways for the families who attended. And 200 parents, grandparents, and children attended the event, and so we're glad that we were able to participate in that each year. Our nonfiction grant that TDS has provided to us wraps up May 23rd. We have approximately $800 left to spend of the $11,090 that was granted to us. So with that, we've been working to clean up our nonfiction collections, both adult and youth, to make sure that we have up-to-date and desired materials in our collection to be used. And then the study rooms installation is scheduled now for May 21st and 22nd. So we're excited for that project to be underway. The memory lab will be closed May 9th through 31st as we take down the technology and the furniture, get the study rooms installed, and then set the memory lab back up. and one of your items is related to the furniture for that. And then I wanted to give an update on the Institute of Museum and Library Services funding. We talked last month about the executive order that put that agency and their funding in jeopardy. The U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia granted a temporary restraining order to block the dismantling of the Institute of Museum and Library Services, or IMLS. And that decision was issued in response to a lawsuit that was filed by the American Library Association and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, which is a union that represents library workers throughout the country. So the temporary restraining order was issued days just before the mass layoff of nearly all of the IMLS employees was set to take effect on May 4th. And the ALA has mounted a campaign to secure the funding for the agency in the fiscal year 2026, but they're still asking advocates to request their Congress members to demonstrate their commitment to library funding by signing the congressional Dear Appropriator letters in support of the funding for next year for IMLS. And so the window for the Congress members to sign on to those library funding years is expected to close mid-May, so now would be the final push to let your legislators know. And so the American Library Association is, again, just urging all of their Americans to show up for our libraries by urging their senators and representatives to sign those letters in support of the federal library funding.
April, would
yes.
you send that link back out again
Sure.
to at least all of us?
Sure, and I'll read them out here too now. So you can go to ALA.org, so that's the American Library Association, and they have information about it right on their homepage that you can click on. And there's a timeline of everything that's happened, giving explanations, giving context for these conversations and how some of this funding and budgeting works and how it's used, and then also how to take action if you so choose. And then there's also the Minnesota Library Association's website is mnlibraryassociation.org, and then you just have to choose the advocacy tab there. Excuse me. Is there any questions on that at this moment?
You may have said it, but has there been any information on the 27 states attorney general?
That one I have not heard an update on. The temporary restraining order was in connection to the ALA and the unions
Okay, all
suit.
right.
And then I just wanted to note, the city's charter commission is meeting tonight to discuss changes to the city charter, including, excuse me, reducing our library board from 9 to 7 members. And so they've been exploring this for a while, just reducing the number of members on some of the commissions to ease the burden of finding commission members willing to serve in the community. So it's not decided yet, but they'll be discussing it tonight, and so I wanted to make you aware of it. If that change is made official, then it wouldn't immediately reduce our library board from 9 to 7 members, but as library board members reach the end of their terms, we wouldn't replace those members until we are at 7 or below 7. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that, and I'll keep you informed as more information is available on that.
Thank you. Any questions or other comments?
Just rather amazing that 905 clients went for the volunteer tax preparation when you consider the entire population of Brown County is 25,000 and something. That's a huge percentage of citizens who are taking advantage of that. Very, very good.
And I know several people who are very grateful that service existed for them. Thank you. And then we have our programming calendar.
So the New Ulm Film Society will kick off its new series featuring baseball films on Tuesday, May 13th at 6:30 p.m. So they're going to start with 8 Men Out, which is a movie from 1988, and their series usually are about 6 movies before they move on to a new focus. The Minnesota Valley Civil War Roundtable will have its last meeting of the season on Tuesday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m. They'll resume again in September after they take a break for the summer. And then most of our children's programming takes a break during May while our staff prepare for the summer reading program. During May, the chess group and the Pathfinder programs will continue to meet. Pathfinder is for teens, and the chess group is all ages, including adults. And then our summer reading program starts June 9th. This year's theme is Color Your World. And Catherine Tatnall, our Youth Services Librarian, plans to be at our June meeting to give an overview of all that we're offering for our summer reading program.
Oh, good.
And then I just wanted to note that the library is closed on Monday, May 26th for Memorial Day.
Thank you. Then we go on to our action items. The first one of which is the request for New Ulm Public Library to receive and order file purchase of study room furniture. The proposed action, receive and order filed purchase of furniture for 2 study rooms and 1 memory lab in the amount of $3,819.62. The overview, New Ulm Public Library received a Mellon Foundation grant of $250,000 in March of 2024, part of which is to be spent installing 3 study pods, one of which will function as the memory lab. The library director selected the furniture that will meet the needs of the memory lab as well as the 2 study rooms. Budgetary and fiscal issues. This purchase was budgeted in the library's Mellon Foundation grant proposal. The current memory lab furniture will be surplused. The breakdown of the furniture cost is attached, as are photos of the furniture purchased. The library is tax exempt, and sales tax will be credited back before the library is invoiced. We need a motion to receive and order filed purchase of the study room furniture.
So moved.
I'll
Second?
second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and order filed purchase of study room furniture. Any questions or comments on this? I will just say that the pricing list and the pictures are included in the library packet that's available for people to view on the city website or the library website, to look at those pieces of furniture. And the pricing list is the cost without the return of the sales tax, which will eventually be credited back to the library. Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now we have resolution number 2025-12, accepting Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund grants. This is a first reading and adoption. At its April 2025 meeting, the Traverse des Sioux Regional Library Board awarded New Ulm Public Library with 2 Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund legacy grants in the following amounts. One, $800 for AM Radio Memories and One Hit Wonders with Joey Leone. Blues musician and historian Joey Leone will present on the history of radio hits in America during the 60s, 70s, and 80s on Tuesday, July 15th at 1 p.m. at the New Ulm Community Center. This program is offered in partnership with CAST. Number 2, $790 for Art Start, Scandinavian Folk Art with Cammie Anderson. On Monday, July 21st at 1 p.m., Scandinavian enthusiast and artist Cami Anderson will present a short introduction to Scandinavian folk art history, then lead participants in creating their own bespoke cross-stitch piece. Students will learn how to read a cross-stitch chart and go home with a finished piece. All materials are provided. Do I have a motion to accept Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund grants?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This sounds like fun. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay?
Can I ask a question about the legacy grants and how they work? Does the Traverse des Sioux Library, I'm assuming they organize it for all the regional libraries, and then these people go and visit each one? Is that how it works, or do we, as a library, seek out these?
We
Okay.
organize these. So the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund is state money.
Okay.
And that's divided up between the 12 regional libraries in the state. And so Traverse des Sioux receives a chunk for our region, and then they sub-grant to the library. So their TDS has its own process where we submit an application describing what the program or project it is that we would like to do. And then they have a committee made up of TDS board members and then member library directors who review those applications to make sure that they meet the requirements of the grant. So they have to be related to arts and cultural heritage, or arts education, or Minnesota history,
Okay.
and then make sure that they meet those requirements, and then each library is responsible for doing reporting back to TDS regarding those grants, so that TDS in turn can do reporting for all of the grants that were provided for that fiscal year to the state.
Thank you. I'm sorry, this is a roll call vote.
Sarah,
Yes.
Dustin, yes. Caitlin,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Yvonne,
Yes.
Manon,
Yes.
Hope,
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passed. The next resolution, number 2025-13, accepting April 1st through April 30th, 2025 donations. First reading and adoption. The list below describes donations received by the library from April 1st through the 30th, 2025. We have an April 19th Friends of the Library donation of $400 in cash, and that will be applied to the Wowberry subscription. April 19th, 2025, Friends of the New Ulm Library, an amount of $1,100 in cash for children's programs being applied to the summer reading program. April 25th, 2025, Anoka County Library in the amount of $2,625. And this is a physical donation of 30 acrylic magazine boxes. April 30th, 2025, Optimist Club of New Ulm in the amount of $557 cash for children's programs, and it is designated for the annual public film screening license. Total cash donations are $2,057. Total physical item donations are $2,625. Total cash and physical donations are $4,682. The Library Board of New Ulm Public Library accepts these donations with gratitude to the donors. And this is a roll call.
Would it be okay if I offered a little bit of context about some of the items?
Sure.
So Wowberry is a subscription that we have renewed annually for probably the past decade. And often the Friends have paid for that for us. But what it is it's a service that each week those who are subscribed to it receive an email that has a list of all of the items we've added to our collection for that week. And it breaks it up by like different nonfiction subjects or by genre for the fiction, and then also for children's items. And then we also have the ability to add blurbs to it about either our programs or our, we can do staff reviews on there too. And so we have a lot of patrons who are really dedicated to that list because it allows them to link directly from it to our catalog where they can place requests for those items if they're interested in them. That's been popular for patrons. We're always trying to get the word out about it though, because I think more people could be taking advantage of it.
I will be signing up for that. I didn't realize we had that.
It's a really nice service.
Yeah,
I read it every week. It's my Saturday morning read.
sounds lovely.
It's nice to get on the list, like a waiting list, so.
Yeah.
And also, this, you can set the service up so it automatically posts the list to Facebook too, a link to the list to Facebook. So we have that set up as well. But if you are wanting to sign up for the email, you can go to newulmlibrary.org and choose the Stay Connected section. And there you can sign up for the Wowbury newsletter, and then you could also sign up for our email newsletter where we dive deeper into our upcoming programs and library news, and that's one that our staff puts together.
It's really easy to sign up.
Yeah, you just type in your email address pretty much. And then for the Friends donation for the summer reading program, that includes, we do a free book for every participant in the program, and then we have prize drawings for grand prizes so that money covers those free books plus the grand prizes. And this summer, we also asked them to cover $300 towards staff T-shirts, which is something in the past we've asked staff to optionally purchase their own summer reading T-shirt if they would like to, but it's a good advertising opportunity for us. So I think it's good to include that in our budget in some way for the staff, and then everybody can participate regardless of income. And then the 30 acrylic magazine boxes from the Anoka County Library. Right now, we have our new magazines displayed down where the memory lab and study rooms will be, really close to that area, so we're having to rearrange that. And then the older issues are kind of tucked behind the elevator. And print magazines is something that there's just not as many available anymore to subscribe to. And it's just not as popular of a collection, so we're trying to make what we have more visible. And Anoka County Library was getting rid of a bunch of magazine boxes, which Minitex, one of the agencies whose funding is at risk, sends out a great newsletter of news through the state. And they had included this notification that they were getting rid of the magazines, and so we jumped on it. And they're just these boxes where you can put the newest magazine in front and then all of the issues behind. And so we have space up in the middle of the nonfiction floor where we're going to put all of those magazines together on display in a hopefully a more inviting way for patrons. But that was those boxes are kind of expensive. We wanted 30 of them, and we got 30 of them. Worth $2,600 is a chunk of change. And then the Optimist Club has probably for the past decade or so supported our annual film screening license. So we subscribe to Swank Motion Pictures, and they have deals with different production companies to screen their films. And so as long as it is covered under their licensing agreements, we can screen the film at the library. And so that just ensures that the people who worked on that film are getting paid for that public screening. And it's a way for us to not have to get an individual license for all of those films that we screen. And it's, the Optimist Club is supporting our children's film screenings, but our film society and our senior movies also benefit from that gift as well.
And that's an annual subscription?
Yes.
That's the one time. Oh,
Yes.
that's a good deal.
That's 3 diverse groups right there.
Yeah, there are some films like more independent movies that you can do a one-time license with this company for, because they're not covered under their umbrella licensing. And to do something like that is about $118. So, I mean, we probably screen, I don't know, 30, 40 films a year at least. Now more than ever that we're doing the senior movies every Friday, so we're getting our money's worth out of the license.
That's good. Thank you for those details. We have the roll.
Sarah,
Yes.
Dustin, yes. Caitlin,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Yvonne,
Yes.
Manon,
Yes.
Hope,
Yes.
Nancy.
Our next resolution, number 2025-14, accepting artwork donations. First reading and adoption, patron Geraldine Schellberg has requested to donate 2 pieces of artwork to the library. The first piece was painted by Ruth Hansen and features a rural countryside theme. It is 18 by 24 inches. Ruth Hansen is an artist based in the Fergus Falls area. She works with watercolor, oil, pastels, and watercolor batik, among other mediums. The second piece was painted by Schellberg herself and features hydrangeas. It is 16.5 by 19 inches. Both pieces are matted and framed. A photo of each is attached. And those, again, can be viewed in the library packet on the city and library websites. And we're grateful for these donations.
Do you
You
have
have
a
a-
place for them? Do you know where you're going to put them?
I don't yet. There are a couple pieces of artwork that are hanging where the memory labs and study rooms will go, so those will have to be moved too. So I think that as we consider those pieces, we'll kind of reconfigure some of the art.
These are lovely, lovely pieces of art.
Do we have a motion to accept the artwork?
So moved.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and second. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Sarah, Dustin, yes. Caitlin,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Yvonne,
Yes.
Manon,
Yes.
Hope,
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have Resolution 2025-15 approving study use policy. This is the first reading. The library director recommends that the library board adopt the attached draft study room use policy. This is a new policy created specifically to govern the use and reservation of the study room slated for installation in May 2025. The library director used policies from other public and academic libraries as a model for the study room use policy. The draft policy was reviewed by the professional librarians on staff. The library director has incorporated their revisions. And if we are good, this is a page and a half, but I would like to read the policy for the first reading. New Ulm Public Library Study Room Use Policy. Purpose of policy. The purpose of the study room use policy is to guide the reservation and use of New Ulm Public Libraries, the library study rooms. Principles. The library is committed to making space available to the public on a fair and equitable basis regardless of beliefs or affiliations of individuals or groups requesting its use. The purpose of the study rooms is to provide a quiet space for individuals or small groups. The space, the library has 2 study rooms available for patron use, a smaller room with a maximum capacity of 2 people and a larger room with a maximum capacity of 4 people. Responsibilities. The patrons are responsible for using study rooms in accordance with the study room use policy. Patrons must comply with all federal, state, and local laws and follow all library policies. Patrons must check in with staff at the service desk before they begin their reservation. Patrons should return the room to the condition in which it was found upon vacating the space. Library staff are responsible for interpreting and applying this policy in daily practice. Library staff reserve the right to access the study rooms at all times. Library director or designee is responsible for working to resolve disputes that may arise over the reservation and use of the library study rooms. The library director is the final authority in granting or refusing permissions for use of the study rooms. Fees. The study rooms in the library may be reserved free of charge. A library card is not required to reserve or use the study rooms. Disclaimer. Use and/or reservation of study rooms does not constitute an endorsement or approval by the library of the group, program, or point of view expressed. Reservation and use limitations. Reservations can be made no more than 2 weeks in advance, and patrons must have only 2 upcoming reservations at any time. May have only 2 upcoming reservations at any time. The person making the reservation must be present for the duration of the reservation. The study rooms are not available for public reservations outside of the library operating hours and must be vacated at least 15 minutes before the library closes. The study room reservation period is limited to 2 hours. If another group or user is not waiting to use the room at the end of the 2 hours, the original person or group may reserve the room for another 2 hours or until the next existing reservation begins. If no reservations exist, patrons may use the room on a first-come, first-served basis for 2 hours at a time or until an existing reservation is booked in the room. Another member of the reservers group may not extend the reservation time by making a reservation under a second individual's name. The reservation will be forfeited if the room is unused for 15 minutes after the reservation start time. Patrons must be age 12 or older to use the study rooms. Those under 12 must be accompanied by an adult. Study rooms may not be used as the regular meeting site of any group or organization. Reservations may be made by contacting the library's service desk. Priority for reserving study rooms will be given in the following order. 1. Library-sponsored activities. 2. City of New Ulm departments, including New Ulm Community Access Television, NewCat. 3. Brown County departments. 4. General public. The library reserves the right to cancel study room reservations or use by other entities if the rooms are needed for Library of City New Ulm use or in emergency situations. Failure to follow the study room use policy may result in the loss of future reservation and study room use policies.
I see a typo there. The rooms are needed for the library or City of New Ulm use in that second to last paragraph.
I do have a question. I know, April, I talked about it beforehand. In the reservation area, I was wondering if we needed to have where somebody reserving the room has to be 12 or older or an adult or some, so that, it's an adult reserving the area or
To-
responsible.
To clarify, Minan, if we said patrons must be age 12 or older to reserve and use the study rooms, would that?
Well, I'm just questioning whether you need something like that in there.
Would that address the
Mhm.
concern you're raising if we changed that wording?
Yeah, just.
Any other discussion?
What's the process for reserving the room? So will it have to be done in person at the library desk, or is there an online?
Right now with our meeting room calendar, we use a Google Calendar to manage that. And our patrons have to fill out the meeting room reservation form. I didn't really want to introduce another form to track or fill out. So I'm still trying to settle on the final form of this, but I would be looking at using probably a Google Calendar to also manage the study room. And then patrons could either request that in person or by phone or email through our service desk staff. I would like to set it up in a way that they could reserve it online, but I'm just not sure what program or form to use for that yet. One of our part-time staff did suggest if changing the language of reservations may be made by contacting the library service desk so that it could be more inclusive of future changes to, if we were able to set up a system where the patrons could request it through an online form or something like that.
Okay.
I would like to have that available for both our meeting room and our study rooms. I'm just weighing whether it's worth an additional software subscription to manage that for the amount of reservations we get for these two spaces.
Yeah. Because on one hand, you'd like people to be able to see, like you want them to be able to easily see if it's available. I feel like more people would use it then. But yeah, figuring out what you already have and
Probably just
not
have to
introducing
see
a new
how it goes
process.
and then
Yeah.
see what's needed.
Yeah, because there is software out there that libraries use to manage this kind of
Okay.
thing that we could look at in the future, but I didn't want to jump into it at this point since I just wasn't sure
Yeah.
what the demand will be.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Now we are to other business. Is there any other business that needs to come before the board? Any other business?
I wanted to note that the Brown County Library Board will be meeting on June 9th. It's a Monday at 7 p.m. And I'm still nailing down the location, but I believe it'll probably be at the Springfield Public Library. I just have to confirm with their director. We got kind of out of our normal rotation the last few times, so because we had some staff changes at some of the Brown County libraries.
Thank you for that. Any other business? Any other business? No other business, so the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.